Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse, and I'm your host, the King of the Bridge, Dylan Musk, and I have with me the Prophet, Kirklin Patzer, making his long-awaited return here at
Yes.
Sidequest. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing just fantastic. I'm so happy to be here. It feels like forever since I've been on. We'll go a string where I'm on for like 4 weeks and then I just won't be on for like 6
I don't
weeks.
think you were
or
here at
something.
all in June, so it must be sometime in probably early May at this point.
Yeah, I feel like I conquered May though. I feel like I was on a lot of the
Right.
side quests of that month. But no, it's good to be back, and yeah, it should be a fun one.
Yeah, let's get right into it today. We got a bit of news. We're gonna break down a trailer for a Quiet Place game, which is coming out. We're gonna talk about the July month of Marvel Snap, and then we just got a bunch of games we've been playing because obviously Kirkland hasn't been here in a bit. I always have some new stuff. So let's start with a Quiet Place. Remind me the movies. Have you seen both? I know you haven't seen Day One yet, but have you seen the first two?
I've never seen Quiet Place.
You haven't seen a
ever.
single
I haven't
one?
seen
Okay.
a single. I haven't even seen the Bird Box ripoff, whatever that one was. I haven't seen any of this.
Right. Okay.
No sound, no sight.
Okay, but did you watch this trailer for the game?
I did watch this trailer. Yes, I know
already
the
forget
world
the
now.
name. A Quiet Place. The
Well,
road,
The Road
ahead. Is
Ahead,
what it's
yeah.
called.
Yeah, there you go.
What did you think of this? As someone who hasn't clearly watched the
Yeah.
movies yet, does this intrigue you at all from like maybe the gameplay sense rather than
Yeah,
just what the horror movie sense of it can do?
it's funny with Quiet Place. I really didn't know like anything about it until I was going to see whatever movie, and they had the trailer for Day One, and it was just like,
Mhm.
oh wow, okay, there's monsters in this movie. Like I I didn't know what
Oh
this
wow,
was.
you didn't even have that. I guess
Well, like,
the first trailer for the first movie was pretty coy with what was going
Yeah.
on, and then
I
I feel
feel
like by
like-
the second one you were probably pretty checked out because you're like, well, I haven't seen the first one, so I don't care about.
I don't even remember
Part
seeing a
two.
trailer for the second one. Maybe I have, but I'm just like mixing the two up. I just remember like a threat, but I don't think you ever see it at least in the trailer.
Well, now you know because they don't hold back in this.
I know what it
trailer for the
is.
game.
Yeah, I've seen the game engine version of it as well. But no, I haven't experienced the movies. But this trailer actually really surprised me. It definitely reminded me of something similar, like Last of Us. You know, just like that post-apocalyptic with monsters. The gameplay looked pretty fun in my opinion. Like it looks like a pretty solid game actually, and I feel like with The Last of Us, the story I imagine would be more important than the gameplay. I feel like that's usually how those games go, and yeah, no, I thought it looked really solid, and just the world overall, it looks really interesting. So
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe like it boosts up my interest levels, I guess, for the overall just movie universe. I always assumed it was gonna be like a movie that I would eventually see, but it's just, I mean,
Yeah.
now we have 3 movies out and a game coming. It's like,
True.
oh gosh.
I feel like this year, I think you need to say Day One just for Golden
Yeah?
Week purposes. Honestly.
Ooh,
So
okay.
cheap plug. We did a review. Me, Travis, and Taylor, and yeah, we all enjoyed it. I won't spoil any more than that. I'll just say that we enjoyed it. You should go check out that review if you want to hear more. But yeah, so I feel like maybe this year you'll have to check that out. And I think Day One works perfectly because it is kind of a prequel. It's also kind of just like another story in that world. So you don't need to watch the first two before
Right.
watching that. You're not going to spoil anything for yourself. I think it's completely fine to watch them kind of out of order in that way. So I'm curious to hear what you think about that movie when you check it
Yeah.
out, and the rest of them, to be honest. But yeah, I think this game, I think visually it looked like kind of like a AA sort of thing. Like it didn't quite look,
Mhm.
like that big 4K that we expect. And this is a story trailer, but I was kind of surprised at how story focused it was. Maybe I shouldn't be. It's based on a movie, obviously. But there's just a lot of cutscenes going on, a lot of character stuff. And I guess I maybe expected when they were doing this game that it would be just kind of set far into the world kind of going into disarray. But like the trailer opens with like that same Day One cutscene sort of thing, and then we get into like the inciting event. So it's interesting that it's kind of going right to the start, and I don't know how deep into that it's going to go. I'm guessing it'll be kind of like 3 or 4 days consecutively that you're playing through it, rather than being like this big open world thing that you're like potentially surviving for months. I think it will be a
Right.
shorter, more story focused thing. But yeah, I'm curious to see more of it. I didn't look up the developer. I should do that at some point here just to see what we can expect in terms of the gameplay. But I think it looks cool. I think for me it would really just come to down to the price point. If it's a full $80, it's kind of tricky, but maybe when it drops on sale. But I think it looks fun. I like the movies and I like the world enough. And funnily enough, playing Outlast a bunch this year, one very minor mechanic that I really like in those games is if you step on a little bit of glass and make noise and then like have the monsters come after you, like that's a fun weird threat. I'm not really used to that in games. Normally you're not like looking directly at the ground beneath your feet for little details like that, but I think this game could be all about that kind of thing, of being really careful about your movements in of course a stealth way, but like a little bit differently, of not just trying to avoid a monster but also trying to watch every last step. And at one point the character's like bringing out like a tube of toothpaste or something from a shelf, and he's like, it's like Operation, where he's like, oh, I can't touch this other thing and make a noise in any way. So I don't know, I like a good stealth game, and I think that this could be a cool way to do it. I almost feel like it could be tricky to pull off, but it seems like they're doing a decent job, because I kind of feel like this game would work really, really well in VR, honestly, like just with the concept. But this is, of course, not a VR game, so I don't know. I'm curious to see how it'll translate to just a regular first-person, I guess not shooter, well, a little bit of shooter, first-person mechanics. It could be an interesting time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I found interesting, this is a very minor spoiler for you, Kirklin, on the first one, is that at one point in this trailer, the character sitting on the toilet, they go pick up a pregnancy test, and it reads positive. So that's going to be a mechanic in that, like, well, how do you have a baby without making any sound? That seems like a pretty tricky thing to do, and that's something that happens in the first movie, I'll say, without saying more than that. So it's cool that they're kind of picking things that have been done in the movies, but then also, you know, grabbing new characters and telling a new story in here. So I'm intrigued by it. I think it's a cool idea. I guess I didn't really expect this game, and I don't know. It's just a cool, interesting thing. I'm curious what other sort of any other, like, it's weird that series already has 3 movies in it. It's kind of like becoming a big franchise. Just I feel like in a couple of years, even though I guess it was like 2018 or something like that, the first one came out. So it's been a while now, but I don't know. It's cool. I'm very, very much intrigued by this, and I could see Taylor picking it up for sure. Maybe Travis would as well. So I don't know.
I feel
maybe
like
we could do a review in the future of it.
This is also a game that just makes me. It just feels like it's screaming like Game Pass all over it. Like it'll just be on there like fairly quickly. I don't know right at launch, but I mean, if it's on there, I'm sure both those lads.
They're pretty good about.
Jump
There's like they try to have like, it seems like a constant flux of horror games coming in and out. Like
Yeah.
Resident Evils are popping in and out of the service, and then like Amnesia was on there. A couple other ones that I've seen.
Blair Witch was on there. That's the other
Blair
movie.
Witch was on there. Yeah, of course, not Evil Dead. What's it called? Evil Within. Those games are on there because they own that studio and whatnot at this point. So yeah, it seems like they definitely want to get some horror games in there. So this would be a big one because it's a bigger IP than some of those other ones we just mentioned. So could be a cool thing. I don't think we have any sort of release date on it yet, but I don't know. Looked pretty, like they had a decent amount of gameplay in there, even though it was a story trailer. So maybe like at the Game Awards or something, we could get a bigger trailer with a release date, and maybe it could be next year. Who knows? We'll keep an eye out on that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Kirkland, take it away. Tell me about what you've been playing in the last month and a half here.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been so long since I've been on here. I feel like I've gone through like different phases with some of these games that I've played on. So I'll start at the top with a game that I picked up on my Switch. I've been playing my Switch since probably since I beat Princess Peach. I feel like I haven't really touched the Switch. Maybe we played like Mario Kart every once in a while here and there, but no, when I went on my trip to Manitoba, I brought my Switch with me, and I booted up a game that I had not played since my last year, like the previous year's trip to Manitoba, and that was Fire Emblem Three Houses. I feel
was
like
hoping you would say Fire Emblem today. I was smelling it in the air. I love it.
Oh yes, it's funny. This is just like a tradition game, I guess. I just pick up yearly around Father's Day weekend when I go out to Manitoba.
When the school year is back in session, you come back.
Yeah, exactly, and I couldn't really remember where I was. I knew that I had finished like Act 1 and was at some it's some area in Act 2, and I can't remember what chapter I left off on my like recent binge of the game, but I definitely put in like probably a good 10 hours just here and there.
Nice. Like
all we would really be doing is like watching movies and chilling. So just like always be pulling up the Switch, and man, that game is just so fantastic. I honestly thought it was the most recent Fire Emblem game too. I kind of forgot about Engage and that game, which I definitely do at some point want to try. But I mean, I to this date have never completed fully a Fire Emblem game, and I definitely feel like I'm approaching. I don't think like I'm on like the last chapter or two, but like I just feel like, damn, I have a lot of hours into this game now, and I definitely feel like I'm able to conquer that beast. And God, that Three Houses. I don't know if it's better than Awakening in my opinion for the story wise. I really love that Fire Emblem Awakening game, and I also feel like because that was my first Fire Emblem, it was just like I don't know. I didn't know what to expect with the combat, let alone the story and the characters, and I really love that game. But no, I really like just the different characters in here and just kind of their dynamics amongst each other, and I love the whole mechanic of like the characters aging and like their interactions kind of change around them aging as well as just the world around them. So I do really like the story. I really like the characters, and yeah, no, it's pretty kick-ass. The main character's pretty OP. I feel like how
Yes, for sure.
they always are in like all the
Yeah.
Fire Emblem games. I remember Robin really being really OP as well, and as just Byleth, is that the name? I can't remember.
Byleth, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're just so versatile, especially like Robin
Yeah.
and Byleth. I think before that it was usually like just a sword user, and they
Yeah.
usually have good stats, but like they're not super OP because they're still limited. But now, yeah, like Byleth and Robin just have range on top of their regular sword actions and whatnot. So
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just, yeah, they're just so versatile, and you're gonna have them in every battle, so they're level.
Oh,
they're gonna
yeah.
be, like over leveled at all times. So yeah,
And, like,
super strong.
The Exalted One class that the I think that's
Right,
what it's
yeah.
called,
I
that
think so, yeah.
the player character has is it's crazy. But I can't remember, what house did you say you were when you played?
So the first one I did was Edelgard's house. The what is
Oh,
it,
okay.
Black.
Yeah.
Is it
Black
is it
Eagles.
Black Eagles, and then I
Yeah.
did another playthrough with the Golden Deer.
Oh, okay. Right
And then
on.
I haven't done a playthrough of the blue. What are the
So
blue
that's the
ones?
one I'm on right now. Like the
Right.
I think my first one I ever did was the Black Eagles, but I didn't get too far into that one, and then probably like took some time away from it, came back, and then made this
Yeah.
one, the Blue Lions. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I just felt like I never really made like a heavy martial type class, meaning like swords and just like got a lot of what are they called, Wyvern Lords, like just
Oh,
like
yeah.
yeah, like very
My second
versatile
playthrough,
army,
I
I
made
feel.
everyone a Wyvern Lord because I was just trying to like speed run it to some extent. So I
Yeah.
was just like, everyone, you're gonna have the maximum speed. You're gonna be able to fly over gaps, and
It is
we're just gonna
crazy how
pop
strong
off.
they are. Yeah, I
Especially because there's like the magic wyverns and stuff too, which is
yeah,
a really cool addition that I think that was added in Three Houses. I don't remember an earlier game having wyverns that like weren't just like usually axe users or maybe a bow later
Yeah.
on. But yeah, I think the magic ones and like, or maybe it's the Pegasus. I can't remember the exacts, but I don't know. Whatever it is, just having a flying unit who can do magic is a really cool thing.
oh, it's so strong. And just like mounted units in general, the fact that they can like attack and then move again is such a
Yes.
strong mechanic, especially if you
Mhm.
have like a ranged attacker. And I don't know, I feel like, again, like I've never really played with archers in my army, but I have a couple, mostly like Pegasus riders that can like swap in and out. Like my one character that I feel like I just rely on them in every single battle is I think it's a actually no, it's definitely another Wyvern Lord. But just having them with like a lance, but then also like a bow on them is just it's crazy how strong it is. But no,
yeah,
it's,
that was another
it's
thing I
awesome.
was so happy with Three Houses, and I think they'd actually done it earlier with the remake of Shadows of Valencia, like the 3DS game, where they made bows have more range than just two, because they were
Yeah.
always kind of the weakest class because they didn't have more range than any of the magic classes, but then they couldn't do range one attacks.
Yeah.
So they just like didn't really, other than being able to take down Pegasus and other flying units, as like just because they have that critical,
Yeah.
they weren't super useful. And so you still use them if you like the character, but they weren't really like one of the stronger ones. So I think it was a really good choice that they had just way more monster range in that game. It makes them much more viable, and so you can kind of do different strategies with them. So
Yeah, because
definitely
in
big
Three
ups on the
Houses,
archers.
I think it was Three Houses where they implemented like the gambits that you can have with.
Yeah, I think for a few of the games they've had similar things.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they ever called them gambits, but like certain
Yeah.
special abilities, like that was a big thing in Path of Radiance. I think was the first one that added that, the GameCube one.
Oh,
Like-
okay, so a while ago actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like one of my characters, like he's mainly an archer, and then one of his gambits, I swear he can shoot like across the map. Like it's just it's just insane. And then have him on like a flying mount. It's just yeah, no, it's really awesome. And I feel like because I don't know, I'm definitely not an expert with those games. I don't play on Lunatic or anything. I think I'm on
Oh yeah.
I have no idea what difficulty I'm on, actually. I feel like hard is the one that I've kind of always played on, but
Makes sense.
yeah, I can't really recall. But
Do you remember what chapter you're on? What number? Or roughly?
yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. I should have grabbed my Switch and check. Things are heating up, that's for sure. Just with the overall political landscape, I guess, on the maps right now, and yeah, no, I cannot remember at all. I'll have to pull it up.
I mean, from what you're saying, it does sound like you are getting near the end, which is that is exciting. You're gonna roll credits on your first Fire Emblem game.
I will report back when that day comes, because
is that going to be next year when you jump into it again, or are you on a roll right now? Do you think you're going to keep it going?
I have played since I was on the trip, but that was a couple weeks ago already now, and yeah, but just with some of the other games I'm going to talk to you about, I feel like we'll be filling up some time slots. But yeah, that's my Fire Emblem update. Absolutely love those games, and just shouts out to literally you. I think you were the one that told me about them back in the Target days. I'm pretty sure I was like, oh yeah, I was checking out this game. I think I want to get it. And you're like, man, I got Fire Emblem Awakening. You can borrow it. I'm like, what? Oh, that's crazy. There you go. Here we are, all these years later.
Yeah, I'll throw in one of my games here. Actually,
okay.
It's not Fire Emblem, but it feels a lot like Fire Emblem. So recently, I was at I mentioned this to Travis. I was at a retro video game convention where there was all sorts of vendors selling things, and so I bought some games, and one of the things that I just impulse bought was Civilization Revolution for the Nintendo DS.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I remember that game on Xbox 360, but I didn't know it was on handhelds. I think
the first Civilization game that was on consoles. So it was a much more simplified version because it had to be controller friendly and it had to kind of introduce a whole new audience to what Civilization is, like this grand strategy sort of game, but kind of simplified version. And so when I didn't even know until I saw it at this booth that it had a DS port as well, which was just the funniest thing to me. So I'm like, $10, I'm absolutely picking this up. I need to see what is going on here. And so I've been playing through that. I've done a full playthrough actually, because Civilization Revolution was also with the casualification of it, it made the runs a lot quicker, which is a good thing, because sometimes Civilization, even on the shortest difficulties, can take 10 to 20 hours for one run, for example. So yeah, this one, I don't know, probably took me maybe 4 hours or something to get through all of the ages. And it's funny because it very much looks like a Fire Emblem sort of tactics game. It's like on a square grid instead of like the hex grid, which they've kind of done different ones in different games, I think. And yeah, like just because of the placement of the units and how kind of small, minuscule the maps are, it feels like a bit of like a Fire Emblem thing, in that you're just taking over tiles, positioning your units in those similar sort of ways. And yeah, it is a fun time. It's very different. It's a very simplified thing, but it also has different mechanics. Like I don't think any of the Civilization games I've played have had an economic victory as one of the conditions, but this has an economic victory. So just hitting different gold in your bank milestones, that's just one of the ways you can win the game, which is crazy. Because normally like money might help you get a military victory, because you can just buy a bunch of units, or maybe you can invest a bunch of money to boost your science, and then you could get a science victory. But I can't recall there ever being just a straight up economic victory. So it's a totally different way to play the game. The heartbreaking thing of this is I did this whole run, and at some point, I saw all these victory conditions. A couple players are getting close. I'm doing okay. I'm a bit of an everyman. I have all of the different win conditions. I'm like in the race to some extent. Culture was like my main thing. And then at some point, it was like, there's 5 turns left in this game before it ends. And I was blindsided by that, because I didn't expect that to come up so quick. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to go all in on economic victory, because I'm probably closest to that. So all my cities converted them to just making gold. And I got so freaking close. I think I needed 1 or 2 more turns to get it. And I just barely didn't get that economic victory. And then when it came down to the final score, this is what is a real bummer about it, is the eventual winner, since no one hit any of the win conditions, it just ended on time. It just gave like whoever had the highest like accrued average score, I guess, between all the victory conditions, because you're kind of getting rated on them as you go through. And then the freaking Mongols won in a random victory at the very end, because they just had a humongous army. And so they won like the war victory, whatever that one's called, just based on having the largest army. But because I had so much freaking money, I could have just bought like 1,000,000 units and had a stronger army. So if I had kind of foreseen that, or maybe if I had a save a couple turns ago, I could have like, okay, I can go last minute, buy a bunch of units and go for that as my victory condition. So it was a bit of a bummer. I don't think I'm going to keep playing this game and grinding it by any means, but it was really fun to do a playthrough, and I'm sure at some point in the future, if I'm on the road and want something, I'll pick it up again. It's, like Civilization 6 is on the Switch, so that's like, you can go play that if you want Civilization on the go, or on Steam Deck. I'm sure has all the games now. You can play it on there, but it was really just a odd fascination that game existed on the DS, just such a wild thing, and it was it was a really good time. It's like, because those DS ports for games back in the day, or like the Game Boy Advance ports, they were just completely different games, like completely different art, completely different mechanics. And so it's very impressive to me that they were just releasing multiple versions, but it's so different than these days where every version is, pretty much the same. Maybe it looks a bit worse on Switch, but it's always like the same mechanics or has different like online features or something. So yeah, it's such a weird thing that exists, but it was a good time. So I don't know if I can recommend people go pick up Civilization Revolution on their Nintendo DS in the year 2024, but for someone who's a big fan of that series, it was pretty cool random pickup to find.
You got your $10 worth out of it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, back to you. What's your next game on your list?
Yeah, next game, you are the one that told me about this game. Pseudoregalia. I finally grabbed Pseudoregalia, jumped in there. I entered the dream world, and man, what a game. I am pretty early on with it. Like, I just grabbed it. I think I'm about an hour and a half in right now.
It's a pretty short game, so that's actually, that's a meaty chunk into it.
It's a good chunk in. Yeah, I felt bad that I didn't have like more time to like jump in there, because I had played it in one sitting, and then I went back to it. Like, I think it was a couple days after, and I like could not remember like where I was, and I feel like it's a game.
No map in that game, which is very controversial for a lot of people in the Steam forums of the game.
I was backtracking like for a little bit there, and I'm just like, man, I feel like I feel like it's a game that is fine to get lost in, but like I want time to get lost in it. So I didn't want to like just play it for a short time and then like forget where I was again. So when I have like a nice time chunk to jump in there, I feel like I'll just sit down and just like run through it.
That's always the thing that kills my momentum on Metroidvanias in general, and why I find it so hard to connect with that genre is just because I'll play it, and even if I come back 2 or 3 days later, sometimes that's all the difference. Even games that have maps, and then like come back to Hollow Knight, I didn't play for a week or two, and it's like no idea what the hell I was doing, what I should be doing, where I should go. I feel like I should start a new save, but I don't want to do that. So I think for Pseudoregalia, at least, I mean, I did kind of play through it in a few days, but since it's not super long, I don't know. But definitely the ending section where I just had to like get a last couple collectibles, whatever, to finish the game. I was going around the whole map just looking for random holes that I hadn't been in before. So the ending of it for me was a little tricky, but the rest of the way I found like there's enough ways I haven't been yet that I can go mess around, and eventually I'll bump into some stuff I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, but man, it is absolutely fantastic. I love the soundtrack in it. I feel like it fits the world
so freaking good. I
well.
still bump that soundtrack on a weekly basis, putting on some of those songs.
Yeah, it's got bops on it, that's for sure. And just the animation as well with your attacks and the movement. I will say it took. I still haven't mastered like the wall jumps. I feel like sometimes I find myself like jumping in the wrong direction. It's kind of frustrating, especially if you're like on a chain and then you like fall and it's like oh damn!
You'll get the hang of it, I think.
Yeah,
eventually.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. But like I said, like I'm only like an hour or so in, so I think throw in another hour, I'll probably have it down, and just like unlocking new abilities that like, and then like chaining them in with your movements. Like, man, this game is just so fun to like move around and adventure in. So I wanted to bring that up because you are the one that told me about it, and on that cast, I wish listed that game. And here we are, and I finally
was it a
Steam
a summer Steam sale pickup?
I'm pretty sure I missed the summer sale by like a day. Like I literally saw it. I'm like, oh, awesome! I threw it in my cart, but I like never purchased it. Came back, and I think it was only like 10% off, so it was like probably less than $1.
I don't know if maybe it wasn't part of the summer sale.
Maybe not. I don't know. It's not an expensive game, but it's fantastic. So I'm glad I finally picked it up.
Love it.
All right, I got some meteor ones here. So one big game that I'm pretty sure I found out, again, I was sitting in this chair talking to you on this cast about it, is the game Scarlet Nexus.
Right. Okay. Yep. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I think it's the second game from the studio that made Tales of Arise.
Okay.
And it's funny because the gameplay is completely different, but the story and the characters, at least, makes me think of Fire Emblem and just like how like anime those games can be. This game is very much like an anime. Like even if you just watch the intro to the game, it literally just feels like you're about to watch like an anime episode. Like it just all of those aspects I just absolutely love. I really really love the characters in it, and I feel like more so than the combat, that's what just like sucked me in on it. This game, I think I'm about 36 hours in, and
Whoa.
God, this
damn.
was probably the month of June, like before I went on my trip. Like this game, I was grinding, like just putting in
Are you playing
hours
on
and just
PlayStation?
PlayStation, yeah, because it's
Okay,
on. It was for free on the PlayStation. Well, I guess not free, but the PlayStation Extras catalog thing
Right on. Cool.
that I pay for. That was where I was just like going through, and I'm like, man, I pay so much money for this a year. Like I got to start playing some of these games. And I just saw that one. I'm like, what is this? And then I'm like, oh shit, I talked to Dylan about this game. That's interesting. Okay, and yeah, the gameplay was like nothing amazing, I thought at least, but just the characters and like the twists and turns with the story is really what had me. It's a game that has two like main protagonists, and then you choose which one you play for like that particular, I guess, just playthrough, kind of like Resident Evil 2 has with those two characters there, and their stories definitely cross over. And for the first like good amount of hours, I'm like, I don't really see the point to like play the other character because you're just always interacting with them and you're like always fighting with them. But then there's like a specific thing that happens, and it's a pretty good twist. And then it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. We're definitely treading different paths, and you know, like
a bit like Sea of Stars, where it's like you can pick your two protagonists, you can switch between them, but like you're probably just gonna stick with one because you don't really have a reason to. And then there's certain points in the story where you're kind of maybe forced to use one or the other.
Yeah, so like you can't really switch between the two. When you're in combat, you can like call upon their abilities. It's definitely inspired by like, I don't know if you would call it like a classic JRPG where you have like the party. I don't know if JRPGs are just turn based or whatever that the category is pretty much defined as. But like you have your party with you, and then in combat, like you can kind of like do combo moves with them. I guess the gameplay is most similar to something like Final Fantasy 15, or geez, what's another game? And that's Ni no Kuni, but you never played that game. But just I don't know. It's just instead of turn based, it's just full on like almost hack and slash action with just some very
Where does this
wild
strategy come into it then, or like the RPG, like the build, like the strategy building parts of it?
like you get your skill tree. That's nothing too crazy. Basically just making you it's a vast skill tree, but it's not like you're learning necromancy or something. like it's just like hit harder, like move faster, like stuff like that. But the gameplay like is really fast, and it definitely rewards you if you have like quick reaction times with like dodge timers and stuff like that. And like this game is just like meant for an anime fan, and just like the wild visuals that like some of these fights have. It's probably something similar to like a oh my gosh, what's it called? Bayonetta series, like something like that, or like Devil May Cry. Like it's just like so wild, some of these fights that you have, and the characters. Like there's one character who you don't really know her age, but she's like really old, but she looks like a little girl, and she's like bunny ears, and she uses like a chainsaw to just like hack and slash things, and it's just like
classic.
Yeah, this is
JRPG
this is a classic anime character here. But like the world building and just the lore is actually really really interesting. I feel like it's nothing I've ever experienced before. It's kind of this like futuristic cyberpunky type feel, but like just the explanations on like how the world works, like everybody, without going too deep into it, they have this like gene that you can just like connect to like a network, and then it's as if I can see like my monitors without having like physical monitors here.
Gotcha,
But then there's certain people in the world that they just don't have that quality, so they like literally can't see. Like you go into a city and there's just like crazy visuals everywhere, and there's just certain people that can't see that because they just weren't born that way. So just like the actual world building aspect of it is really interesting too, as well as just I really love the characters that were introduced to it. And unfortunately I haven't really picked up the game in like since my last real hard binge on it. Like I said, I probably around the 50% mark. my completion level, I think it's a little bit below that, but that's like your total completion with like collectibles and such.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's one that surprised me because I feel like when we first looked at it, it's like, okay, that looks kind of interesting, but not a game I'll pick up. But I eventually jumped in there, and it was pleasantly surprising. It was a really good time that I had binging those early portions, and yeah, like some good twists and turns with the story that definitely had me hooked.
Yeah. Would you say that the minute-to-minute combat then does it feel like a Souls type game where you're dodging, you're doing your parries, you're getting your combos in, or how does that feel? Is it fun, engaging? Do you like the combat? Is that what you're hoping for when you're playing it?
I like not really Souls like in the sense of like maybe there's certain I guess you could compare it somewhat in that sense, but there is areas that you will probably tread back through that are just kind of annoying to have to deal with these enemies. But again, that's kind of Souls because you'll have to like go through certain areas and sometimes you have to run by. In this game, I guess you can't really run by them. Like it kind of like locks the area. So maybe that's an annoying part of it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like I might be downplaying it a bit because I still really like the combat. Like it is really fun. It's just maybe for certain individuals that don't really love that hack and slash style, like a Devil May Cry, they might not love it. But I don't know.
That's maybe holding me back because I don't generally like that kind of combat system. But I mean, I think the if there's a good amount of strategy and RPG building, party assembly, that sort of stuff, like those that could help. I don't know, motivate me because it's like, well, I'm having fun, kind of seeing my plans come to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like it's the type of game too where if you see it come across your path on Game Pass or whatever,
I think it might have been on there at one point. Maybe it still is. I know Tales of Arise that you said that was the same studio.
Yeah, this is the second game.
Right, because
like
the
stories aren't
Game
connected.
Pass.
But
I actually did download it and played for
okay,
an hour or two, and then kind of bounce off of it. But
yeah, I assume the gameplay would be pretty
similar to
similar,
me just because of the way you're setting up the world and the story, like that gene thing. That sounds really interesting.
It's wild,
and the way that would be integrated into the story, I can just picture villains who would be opposed to that sort of setup of a world and wanting to change things in a less than desirable way. Like that sounds fun and cool. So that on it, like I've always seen this game and never really been like too sold on it. It's until that pitch from yours, like that one sentence was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. I like that nugget.
Yeah, no, there's a pretty wild like your character can basically go like Super Saiyan at some point, but it's like really brutal the way they do it. There's like these like needle things that come out of like this technology type just air, I guess, and they just like stab into your character, and then you just get like totally connected. I forget the term that they call it, but you basically just get like fully tuned up, and you're just like wild, and you're super strong, but it drains your health bar, and you either die or you like stop it early. Like it's just a thing that like you get super powerful, but you will die if it just keeps. So like, yeah, a lot of like torment I feel like is going on in this world. It's definitely like a dystopian universe that they have going, but
Gotcha.
It's definitely worth checking out, I think. And this game, I don't think like if I do eventually roll credits, I don't think I would run through it again. Even though the stories do deviate amongst the two characters, I just feel like they would be too similar. Or maybe if I do, it would be like in the future. Like I don't know. Like if I'm
60 hours is too long to do a replay of a game, unless you're like a Baldur's Gate and you can justify it somehow. But for the most part, you get the broad strokes. Then you can watch a YouTube video of the biggest cutscenes that you missed or something.
Yeah, no, because that's a good way to look at it. And I think I would potentially check out Tales of Arise just because I do like this game, and I know that one is it's a completely different stories, and I like
more the fantasy setting which you're into.
Yeah,
so it might be up your alley.
It's funny though. I only knew that they were connected because in this game, one of the characters can have like a sword that the character from the first game has, and like I only know that because it like details. It's like this character from Tales of Rise like wielded this weapon,
Weird,
and I've just been using.
They were, but just because I thought those games came out like within the same year or like within the same 2-year period or something. So it surprises me that they came out so quickly. But maybe my sense of time is just skewed or something. I'm not sure.
Perhaps, but it's been a good one, and one that I've been waiting to tell you about just because I discovered it with you. So
yeah, that's sweet. Yeah. Okay, let's take a quick little deviation here. We're doing something a little different. We're now kind of telling you how you can support the show, kind of in the middle. We want to just get right into the action. But Kirkland, where would people go if they want to support us here at Geek First? What is the best way people can do that?
You know, there's lots of places that you can go to support us, but the
There is.
very best is on our Patreon.
That's
And
true.
there's some fantastic things on our Patreon. We got tons of retros coming out right now.
Mhm.
Early, ad-free, exclusive content. You can participate in our actual GV Geek First Day poll
Yes.
we're doing our 2012 Golden Geeks, and I've been kind of pushing it last minute since we're on the last month here, but no, I've been starting to go through some of those movies, and man,
Nice.
what a year we have in 2012. But tons of great stuff on our Patreon.
Yeah, GV Day, that should be super fun. That's on August 3rd, the Saturday. It's the amount of time will kind of depend on you guys. You can help support the show, and that'll extend the live stream that we do. And on that, we're going to do the Golden Geeks. We're going to do a trivia battle that you can, if you join Patreon, you can be part of that. You can join us. And Kirkland, you're on one of the teams, so if people want to be on your team, they can join and request to be put on your team. I don't know if you can do that. That's Taylor.
I'm working to get T Money on the poll or
Yes,
on
that
the
would be
trivia
really
battle.
fun.
So
that would
yeah.
be fun. And we're gonna play a lot of video games, of course, as we always do. Probably do some silly Jackbox stuff, but always just playing all sorts of random games. So that's gonna be a good time. But yeah, Patreon. Last week's Sidequest, which was a little solo episode with yours truly, that was out almost a week early. We're gonna be releasing the Alien Isolation retro up here probably in the month of July, so you're gonna get that a few weeks early. So that's kind of the side quest side of things. But yeah, there's all sorts of retros that whenever I look at the calendar, there's a new retro popping up that I didn't even remember that we talked about doing. So I won't announce those. I'll let Travis do his announcements there. But yeah, just an endless pipeline of content from us over here. So you can go check that out. You can also join our Discord. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook and not really doing Instagram, I guess. What else? That's kind of it. Leave a review. That helps. You can buy my game. It's called Potion Problems on Steam. And any other plugs we should do, Kirkland, or does that kind of cover it?
Are you plugging YouTube videos? Because I saw a certain YouTube video this morning, and goddamn, that was entertaining. I watched all 25 minutes
tell
of
me
it.
about this YouTube video.
It was about a certain house in a city in Morrowind, and my
Yeah.
gosh, it definitely I could just tell your knowledge when it comes to the game of just like I feel like you were, because I haven't really jumped into Morrowind too much. You're just listing names and places and things that you could do in the city of I can't remember what it was,
Caldera,
but just
yeah.
Caldera.
Great
But a certain
Caldera.
man that you may or may not take his home and
Yeah.
take all of his crates of of booze and
Psychedelic
liquor.
brandy. Yeah. This is very random, but I had on a whim decided to make a YouTube video. It's about 25 minutes long.
It is great. It is
where
fantastic.
where I talk about my favorite house in Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. That's not on Geek First. It's on my. I have a YouTube channel that I use to post my trailer for my game. It's called Rapatika Games or Potion Problem. I don't know what YouTube calls it. But yeah, if you want to find the video, it's called A Modest House in Morrowind. I don't know, maybe I'll post a link in the description of this video. But yeah, I don't know. Very random. I just felt like making it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching it. Kirkland, that was a fun time. So if people want to hear me talk about Morrowind a little bit in a pretty, unserious way, you don't need to know anything about Morrowind to hopefully enjoy the video. If you do enjoy Morrowind, I think you'll get more out of it. But if not, Mud's watched it too. She doesn't know anything about Morrowind. She had a good time with it. So yeah, go check that out as well.
At some point too, I'm like, oh, this is like an ad for Potion Problem. Like there's a nice little hidden Easter egg in there.
Oh yeah.
No, it was very fitting and very entertaining. It was.
Yeah,
I feel like I would
have
be
other
interested in
ideas,
episode 2 if it ever drops.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I don't know where that will fall in my priority of working on games, doing Geek First stuff, doing other life things. It's kind of a low priority thing. It was just it was just a passion project that I wanted to do, and honestly, it didn't take me that long to make it. It was pretty easy to make. But yeah, I someone on the video posted their favorite house, and now I kind of want to do a follow episode where I go check out that house, and I think that would be a fun time. But yes, with that, we're gonna kick to the ad break, as it were, the regular ad break, and we'll be right back to talk about more video games. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Kirkland, what is your last? I think your last game.
My
of the day,
last
as you
game.
mentioned.
Yeah, last game, definitely not least. This is a big game I feel like I had to mark it on my calendar. July 7th,
Ooh.
around early in the morning, was the day that I picked up this game, and this is a big momentous occasion. I finally picked up Elden Ring, the 2022 game of the year. Yes,
Whoa,
I
okay,
got
that's not
Elden.
where I thought you were going with that. That is
I,
exciting.
it's one that I was just like, yeah, I know I'll get to it eventually, and then I don't even know why. I feel like I just woke up and it just felt like
You woke up and
all
chose
the
chaos a
gods
little bit.
are just like shining their light on Elden Ring right now,
Mhm.
and I was pretty stoked because I picked up they had like a combo pack with Shadow of the Erd Tree, which
Right on.
I heard it's a fantastic DLC and like very lengthy. It's also like basically a full price game on its own, but
Yeah,
by getting
40
Elden
bucks, I
Ring
think.
and Shadow of the Erd Tree, I think it was only like $100 for.
Nice. So you pretty much saved $20 ish, roughly.
Yeah,
That's
no,
pretty
and
good.
like I feel like games are normally like $90 Canadian. So so like to get that and
True, maybe
Shadow of
even
the Air
more. Yeah.
Tree. So I was pretty stoked about that. I'm sure it'll be a while till I, jump into those adventures of what that DLC holds. But man, I think I'm about 9 hours in
Okay.
right now. That's why I was late
Nice.
to this cast, because I was just like, man, I was just getting so hooked.
Couldn't
And
find a site of grace to drop your
yeah,
save in there. Yeah.
exactly. But like just quick, like I feel like I've dabbled a little bit in Souls games.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried and failed in Dark Souls 1. A little bit of Demon Souls, but that's about it on the From Software games. And then the Souls like games, my favorite one was the Neo franchise, and
Yes.
sunk lots of hours into that. And yeah, no, this game, like from the get go, just completely blew my mind on how beautiful it is, and also just getting lost. Like I feel like this game is so much more approachable than other Souls like games that I have played in the past. Just for the sense of like, okay, I got bopped here, let's just go this direction. And then you just like
Mm-hmm.
go that direction, and you're just traveling on torrent, and you're just going through the highlands. It's like, man, that looks crazy over there. Let's just go wander over there. And like I don't really feel pressured to like go a certain route. Like I'm really just wandering aimlessly through this world, and I don't like I'll find something interesting and go in it until I get bopped, and then I'll try 6-7 more times. And if I keep getting
Yeah.
bopped, it's usually like, okay, if I'm doing no damage to them, and like it's like less than like not even not even a quarter of their health is gone, and I've tried like 10 times, it's like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna move on from this.
Drop
This
a
is
map
this is not
marker and
working.
peace out of there.
Yeah, exactly. But like yeah, just the early impressions, it's just fantastic. For somehow I've been able to just not get spoiled on like anything about this game. I've seen some very brief gameplay, but nothing really for like everything I've come across I've never seen before on any
Nice.
gameplay trailer or like other streamers or whatnot. I feel like I've seen the Tree Sentinel, like just his image on like a meme or something like across the interwebs.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's really really fantastic. My character, I made a prophet, as my name
Ooh,
signifies.
okay.
I only chose it because it just looked funny. It's like the one with like it's got like a neck guard thing,
Sure.
like it just looks like a prisoner. And then they have like some magic and a spear. That's their
Probably
starting
like faith.
weapons.
Is that where the profit is in the stats?
Yeah, so I think I'm like I don't even know, level 22 or something right now.
Sure.
Like I said, I'm about 9 hours in. Leveled up my faith up to 20 just because there was a couple powers that I was using, and I'm like any Souls game, I don't think I've ever touched magic in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
I
me
didn't even
neither.
know that this character had magic until like I was just in there and they had it available to them. But I really was liking the spear as their weapon, just like the thrusts. I've been big thruster in that game.
Dude, I love a good spear. Not enough
n-
spears in games.
and like my last run that I did on that game Neo, I was doing like a spear run. In that one, you pretty much just choose like a specific weapon to do your whole run on.
Okay.
And yeah, I tried a spear, and I just really loved it for like just having that range. Like, it's really
Yeah.
really effective in games like that, those Souls like games. And yeah, I found some great success with that. However, I did switch over. I got my dexterity up high enough, so now I've been rocking the claymore. That was like my favorite weapon in Dark Souls 1. So I found it here now, and I'm like, okay, old
Just a
friend,
big
let's do it.
two-handed
Yeah.
claymore. Yeah.
And I mostly like I switch to two hand every once in a while, but because my character is like it's got some faith there, I usually go like one hand and then have like a fireball type weapon in my
Gotcha.
left.
Yeah.
Which is very effective, at least just dealing with like certain mobs, or maybe like pulling certain character or like just mobs, and definitely aerial threats.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the movement overall has been a big shocker in this game, whether I'm attacking on torrent, which is just wild, or doing like those what are they called? Ashes of War. Is that what it is? Where like you have the abilities on your weapons? I can't remember what they're
like
called.
the left trigger things where you
The left
flip
trigger,
around
yeah.
the screen. Yeah.
Like the Claymore one, you do like 2 front flips, which is just crazy to me. I thought it was gonna be like just a stab, but he does like one swing back and then like a front flip and then just crushes things. And yeah, just it's wild. And just like the movement overall, like it just feels much cleaner than what makes sense than what Dark Souls 1 would have been. Like it's a pretty dated game now. It definitely holds up, but just how refined Elden Ring feels, like it's just it's fantastic. And the combat feels really good. I really just love the unique villains that I've come across so far. I've defeated it's tough to even say like where I am like specifically, because I've just wandered.
Limgrave, I'm guessing, like in the grave.
Yeah, like I went up to Storm Hill area, and then I got bopped by Hargit, the Fell Omen. What is it? Yeah, that guy. I got bopped by him.
One of the two.
Well, yeah, whatever it is. The guy at the gate. I got bopped by him.
Everyone listening knows who you're talking about. They've all played.
There you go. I got bopped by him many times, and then I left, and then I went in the other direction, and then I defeated some bosses here and there. And then, just recently before I came back here, I went and challenged him again, and I got bopped. But it was going better. It was going better than last time. Like I've suited up my weapon a little bit, and
It took me so long to get to Morgott because I went like south first, and then I like looped back up around. That I don't think I came across him until like 20 or 30 hours or something. So I was over leveled to a point where, he probably killed me a couple times, but I don't think it took me too long just because I was so over leveled. But it's funny hearing afterwards how many people just bashed their head against the wall fighting him 40 times or something. But I had kind of circumvented that. But then other bosses destroyed me that I'm sure other people had got to later and were much higher level and just one shot or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like when I first entered the area, I just like went straight basically to where that gate was. And then after getting just defeated at the gate itself, because there's like that big giant dude that just jumps down like at the gate with all those armored soldiers. That scared the hell out of me. So then I just went the other direction. I'm pretty sure I only got past that point because I was like running from something, and then I just kept running up that road on torrent. And then I eventually just got to, like I said, like a grace site, and it's like, oh, okay, I made it through. Look at that, look at that. But I just finished. I forget the guy's name, but it was like a lion type character, like to the south. Like I just kind of finished my journey south, went as far as I could, like defeated that character. And then that's where I just like kind of teleported back up and then started doing some things here and there. I kind of handed in, I guess, a quest to a certain character. You don't really like hand in a quest for XP or anything like that. But I found the guy that told me to go somewhere and do something. And I did that and then finally found the guy. And then that's where I had gone back to that Storm Hill. And then I'm like, well, let's see if I can. And then, just humbled like instantly. But with all those games, like it just kind of... It just kind of hits a point where it's like, okay, I figured it out. Whether I'm reading the specific moves of that character or I've just leveled up my character high enough that I'm just hitting more, or I don't know, I'm just getting better at piloting. For whatever reason, you just kind of get that from that game. Even though it's not like super obvious, it's not one that like, okay, you defeated this many characters, you get your level up. Like it's very unique in that sense, and obviously that's what makes these games so just so, I don't know, just popular amongst everyone. I mean, definitely like the wild monsters that you come across, and the world itself is just, it's out of this world. Like even just going through Dark Souls and coming through and being like, what the fuck even is that thing? And then it's like moving around on 3 legs and like shooting lasers at you. In this one, I think I was just like traversing on torrent, and then I just heard like an explosion go off, and then of course you see one of the messages. It's like, get ready for ranged combat. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, is there a catapult? And then I just see this like giant sentinel thing like shooting arrows at me. I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's a big threat there. Ended up being a pretty easy thing to take down, but no, it's fantastic, and definitely one that I don't even feel like I'm like 1% in. Like I just feel like I'm wandering aimlessly through this world. But yeah, I'm really happy I finally got in there, and yeah, no, it's fantastic, great game. People don't even have to hear me say that because it's an old game, and I'm sure vast majority of people have already jumped into the world of Elden Ring, and yeah.
Yeah, is Torrent, in your opinion, the best video game horse of all time?
Ooh, probably not. I really love the
What's
design.
competition? Red Dead?
Yeah, like I don't.
Ghost of Tsushima,
I feel like
good, but-
Epona, like Link's horse, is like more
come
nostalgic
on.
for me.
Epona, you gotta fucking hit the carrots in the right timing. No way.
I don't know. Like I'm not very like nostalgic
Can't
though when it comes to
double jump
Torrent
with
right
Epona.
now. Yeah, Torrent is pretty bad at. Maybe I just need more adventures with it.
I just can't think of
I'm
many
only
games where I
8
actually
hours in.
enjoy fighting on the back of a horse, but in Elden Ring, I
Yeah,
will gladly do it all day long.
I will say I absolutely hated it when I had that spear weapon because I had to time it like
Oh,
perfectly.
interesting.
And now that I have the
Yeah.
claymore, like I literally just like cock it back, swing,
yeah,
and it's
that's
like
what
I'm
I'm
mowing the
doing.
fucking lawn. Like it's just
I'm a
and then I
two-handed
hit like
axe
3
user,
people.
so yeah, it just
Okay,
feels so
yeah.
good to sweep the side. But yeah, I haven't actually used a spear on horseback, so that makes more sense.
I'm like a
Understand
jouster, it's like it's a knight's
Yeah.
tale or something. I was gonna ask you what your build was. Sounds like it's pretty strength.
Yeah,
heavy.
a lot of strength. I mean, I'm like a level 150 or something at this
Damn.
point, so I've put quite a few points into Dex as well. And then in the DLC, without explaining too much of how it works, there's a kind of a separate leveling system because the DLC, since everyone's kind of going in at a different base level, they kind of added like a separate way that you're scaling up. So because of
Okay.
that, I felt like, okay, leveling up my strength or dex at this point isn't really that meaningful anymore, and I already have high enough strength or dex that like I'm never going to be limited on using a weapon. So I've started putting more points into the magic stuff, not even to use the magic, just because like, oh, this weapon needs 20 faith and I really want to try it out. So I've just been putting a bunch of points into like faith and mostly that one, and then I think afterwards maybe I'll do a little bit of int because there's a couple other weapons I want to try out. But yeah, I kind of feel like the DLC a little less meaningful on what actually you do with your points, which is a good thing to some extent. I think for me it's fun that this almost feels like I can kind of just level up my character separately, and since I've kind of done everything in the main game and I have no interest in doing a new game plus and worrying about my stats for that, it's nice that I can kind of just do whatever I want and then put the odd point into health or endurance to make sure I'm keeping up with the stamina and whatnot.
Right.
So yeah, definitely big axe swinging. One of the talismans I have gives me bonus damage on jump attacks, so I'm like running and jumping at people and smashing into the ground. It just I try to play my character like a boss in the game, like these big slow attacks that do a shit ton of damage and like stun my opponents. That's my kind of go-to, which is yeah, it's kind of my favorite way to build in these kind of games. And sometimes I'll use a shield if like a certain boss is just kicking my ass because their attacks are so fast. Then I'll maybe switch up the build, but that's generally what I use. And it was nice this weekend actually. The great Tyler Sayers was at my house, and he's a master of these games, and he understands the mechanics way better than I do. I don't understand anything in these games; they just make no sense to me. So he's helping me with like giving me advice on certain weapons to use and like certain things. And I coming into the DLC, I haven't played the base game in a while. I forgot that you can actually put your second hand on a weapon to like two-hand it.
It
So
took
for
me
the
a
whole
while to
DLC,
figure out
I had been
the
just running
control.
around, one arm completely doing nothing, another arm whatever. So he reminded me that that's a mechanic. So it was nice to get. I remember when I was playing Dark Souls 1 and I didn't understand how to upgrade weapons even because it was so weird and obscure. And when he finally showed me how to do that, I just became so OP because I had so many resources saved that I hadn't used for like 30 hours into the game. So it's nice to have. It's nice to have a friend when playing a Souls game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not the best friend because I don't understand half these things either. But I'm glad you're finally playing it.
Yeah, I feel like everybody either is or knows someone that's just like the soul's head. like they just live and breathe. The lore is so ambiguous. I have one good buddy that he's all in on these games, and he's just telling me all these deep like it's all space aliens, man. All these Souls games, whether it's Bloodborne, like it all comes down to space aliens. It's just like
in this game
just
for sure. There's some a lot of cosmic things. I don't even know what to say. I'm not even trying to like avoid spoilers. I just don't even know. There's definitely a lot of cosmic, I don't know, wording and verbiage and stuff like that.
The world building overall in like all these Souls games are just it's like almost comedic in the sense of like here's this great character who's just like the lord of these lands, and he just like spawns and just fucks you up, and you're like, I don't even know who this guy is. I don't like, I don't know if he's a good guy, bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't
and
know
then you're picking up like
anything that's going
furled
on.
pickled livers, and it's like, what the hell is going on here?
These
So
messages,
weird.
it's just the pickle, you know, like all praise the pickle. Just
Yeah, try butthole.
Yeah.
Different stuff like that.
the one that really got me, like right at the start of the game, you know, you have the great air tree
Yes.
just looking at you, and then there's a message. It was just like, could this be a tree? And I just laughed. I'm like, man,
I
like
love it.
ever since Dark Souls 1, when I saw one where it's like, try jumping, and then I jumped and just died. It's like,
Yeah.
these fucking trolls
You can't
out
always
here
trust
dropping
them. I
messages.
found in Elden Ring people were more. I don't know if anyone ever really tricked me. Actually, I feel like people were pretty nice.
My most recent one, it was a mistake death, but I ended up laughing because like I hit a lever for a lift to come down, so I was just waiting, and then there was a message that just said like, I think it was watch out behind, or like something along those lines, or no, it was like danger ahead, and then I just like hit circle, which like jumps back, basically opposite of what it said, but I was facing the wrong way, and I just jumped back into the elevator shaft
the
and just
hole.
fell, and I just laughed. Just like, man, that is just hilarious. Like I it's not like I read that and was like on purpose hit it. It's just I read it and then I accidentally hit that button, and then my character just
Yeah.
jumps backwards. Just like this
It's
game.
such a funny, awkward movement, that backwards jump. It's like so clunky. It's weirdly clunky for how the rest of the game feels. You know, very good with the movement for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited to kind of try out just more weapons that I come across. Like I just got the claymore, and that was the first time I've switched from like the starter weapon that I got, just the short spear. I'm pretty sure you can respec as well at some point in the game.
Oh man, I totally forget.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think that's what I remember hearing, and so like I'm not really worried about like my stats. I feel like these are the types of games like you can min max for sure, but
You'll keep leveling up forever, so you'll have time.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a level cap, so you'll eventually, have whatever stats you need for the items you want.
yeah, exactly. Like I usually just go, like if I'm going to strength build, obviously I'll just like put basically all my points in that, but just do what I need to like carry the weapons that I want, and then
And then you'll get talismans too that give you like
whatnot.
plus 10 int or something,
Right.
so you don't
Yeah.
even need to level that. You can just use that to temporarily get you over there when you want to use a certain weapon.
Yeah, no, 100%. But no, I really like the flask system as well, especially like
That's really
as
good,
a
yeah.
like a magic user. Like you have I forget what they're called. They're basically just mana pots, and you can kind of like you only get a max amount that you upgrade, but you can kind of allocate how many that you want, which is nice. Especially if I have like a healing spell, for example, like I can just take more magic, especially if I'm using more of those fireball type attacks. And I don't know, it just seems
It's nice that you can
well
kind
thought
of
out.
customize based on like, okay, this boss, yeah, maybe they're really slow, so I just want to spam fire attacks. But maybe this boss is really aggressive. I don't have time to do
Yeah.
fire, so I'm going to switch over to full health pots for this fight. It's a really, really good system. I mean, for me, it didn't matter. I never had a single mana pot in my whole
Yeah.
entire career, but I think it's a really cool mechanic to kind of balance nonetheless.
Yeah, 100%. And like my most recent spell that I got was like that long range fireball attack, and the one that you start with, it's basically like Igni from Witcher. It's just like a really short range like fire for like in use of melee, and it's not like you can just like attack and then use it really quick. Like you have like a slight cast time with it. And it feels janky, but I've just kind of got used to the timing of it. So like if there was like a group coming at me, I felt like pretty confident that I could time it well, that if they like jump attack, I could just kind of like stop them in that instance. Or like the spear, I think it's the L2 attack. It's just like this like really strong thrust. And I just got really good at timing that, where like someone jumps up and then you just kind of hit them with that, or you do like a jump R2 attack. Like it's just really satisfying when you can time those attacks really well. And I mean, you can like crouch in this game. That kind of threw me off too. I'm like, holy fuck, they brought stealth into this.
A little bit, yeah.
But yeah, no, fantastic. I'm glad I finally jumped on it. Definitely late to the party, but the party's still rocking. So yeah, good time to jump in.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. I'm glad you're playing that. And yeah, like I've had, I guess a slightly different experience with these games than you, where like I did play a shit ton Dark Souls 3 and finished that game and like 100% did it almost. So played a lot of that, but then had a similar experience with Dark Souls 1, where eventually I just kind of bounced off of it like you did. But then Elden Ring was a really great comeback to form for it, just because of like, oh, this thing's annoying and frustrating. I'm just gonna go do thousand other things that are available to
Yeah.
me at this given moment. And then just like the Lord of the Rings vibes of it, just the vastness and the beauty. It's just, yeah, it's just such a I don't know, it works so much more for me than like the more linear type of structure
Yeah.
that some of the other games have. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it. And also like there's so much more generous with the save points, the sites of grace in this game than any other Souls game that I've played, which I don't know, for me is better. I can understand how for some people it might take away some of the edge, but if you're in an open world anyway, they kind of have to factor in that like maybe I just didn't walk down this one exact spot to find this one, so they kind of have to more of them all over the place. So I'm glad they did it. So yeah, I've been enjoying the DLC. I don't think I have much more to add yet. I'm gonna wait until Travis is done, or I'm sure it's gonna take you a while to get to the DLC. But if you do, then we can talk about it in a more spoilers way. But I'm still deep in it. I've put like 12 or 13 hours into the DLC now, and I still looking at the map and just looking at things in the horizon. I still have a lot to do. So that's exciting and. Yeah, it's been super fun so far, finding some weird new cool weapons, some weird new areas, some fun bosses and all that. It's a good time.
Another observation I've had just on my adventures is multiple times this has happened where I want to like investigate basically the whole area. I think the last place I was at was like Castle Mort, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that spot.
And like I would be checking something out, and it's like, okay, it seems like I want to go this way, but let's just go down here, see if there's a chest or something like to find. I go down there, and then it's like, okay, a couple mobs, and then there's like 2 doors here. Okay, let's go down this one, and the next thing you know, you're like really far down somewhere, and you're like, okay, this doesn't just seem like a side area. Like this feels like a realm to fucking Shelob's lair or something. Like
I think that was the first like major boss area I went to, and the first major like I don't know boss, I guess.
That was
I don't know if it's story crucial, but I think that was like the main area I went to.
That was the first boss that I killed that gave me an achievement. So that was like, oh, okay, maybe that's like a mandatory one that I have to do.
Spamming attacks like really fast. Yeah.
That he bought me so hard,
Me
especially
too,
like man, like because I have like that range fire attack, but it takes a while to cast. It's really strong, but it takes a while, and he gave me no breathing time on like any casting. So then I literally was just like, okay, I'm two handing my spear right now. I'm fucking taking this guy on like Hercules here, and I eventually just you just get those iframes, and you just feel immortal when you get like a perfect chain, and you're like, I can't be stopped. And then he hits you once, and he just one shots you, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I just got humbled. I gotta focus what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, shout out to Elden Ring. It was funny. I was once again with Saris and Amanda, the great Amanda who does the music for Sidequest here. They were over, and we were just hanging out. They were watching me play because they'd both. And Amanda's played some of Elden Ring. Sarah's played through like the whole thing, and he hasn't jumped into the DLC yet. But we were just hanging out, and then I was kind of done playing the section. And then we were just sitting talking for a while, and we just like, I just went and like did the pose thing. I just sat down on a ledge, and we were just looking out at this beautiful horizon, just talking for like an hour or something with just Elden Ring on in the background. It's like it is a very beautiful and like a serene game in moments, right? If you're not near an enemy, it is just a beautiful world. The music is very nice. The landscapes and the skyboxes are just insanely beautiful. And like, I don't know, I think that was the thing that I was most happy to just kind of remember when I jump back in the DLC is just the scale of that game. There's just a vastness to it, not just in terms of like an open world game and it's wide, but just like the size, like vertically too, is something. As you just mentioned with Castle Morn and how many times you just keep jumping down and down and down and down until you get to the sand. It's just such a beautiful and unique experience. It's awesome.
I feel like every time I come to a ledge and there'll be a message that's just like praise the Aird tree or whatever it says, and I just like kind of take a minute and like look up and just be like, wow, like I'm in here right now. Like this is beautiful. Because like you're focusing on kind of where you're going, you're just galloping with Torrent, and then you just take a moment, just stop and look around. You're like, oh wow, that glowing tree right there. That's still there. It's beautiful.
Right on. Okay, let's jump into the next game. This is going to be a bit of a pivot here from like one of the more complex, intense games of all time to one of the first and simplest games, but it still has a lot of depth. This is funny. So if anyone is a Patreon subscriber and you've listened to the most recent episode of the originals, you would know that both me and Kirklin have been playing some chess recently. You've been playing camping.
Hell yeah.
I've been playing camping as well, and just elsewhere. And so as part of the Steam summer sale, I picked up a couple chess related games, kind of like chess puzzle games. And these were both like $2 each on sale, easy pickups. The first one is this game called Chessformer, which I've had on my list for a while. And this is as the title would suggest, it is a chess platformer where essentially each level has like a big, grid. It's not chessboard size, but it's chessboard in that kind of, white and black tiles spread around, and it's pretty simple. You just have to use your pieces to take out the enemy king, and so it starts very basic. You're just moving your units, and then simple platformer. You gotta like move the knight because he can go on this ledge that's in the air. There's physics in this game, so your pieces are falling if there's nothing below them, if there's no platform or other piece under them. And so it starts out pretty simple, but then eventually it gets into the classic puzzle stuff of like, there's, you got to stand on this button to open this door, and then you can get another piece through there. And yeah, it's a very simple game. The aesthetic is very, very simplistic. There's 50 levels in there, and I think I beat every level within like an hour. So it's a pretty short and sweet kind of experience. But just, as a fan of chess and the different chess pieces and the way they can move and the specials ways that all of them are limited and have special ways that they can move, it was a fun kind of interesting idea on top of that. So I had a good time playing through that. I think it doesn't quite reach the depths of like an all-time great puzzle game by any means. It's kind of a simple concept. And I wish it gone a bit deeper, like, because in each level, the enemy team, the enemy pieces, they're never moving. There's just one king. And so you just have to, get through the level using kind of little chess movements. And you take out the king, you win. But I think it would have been cool if there was at some levels where there was like other enemy pieces, and that would be somehow like you would have to capture them, and that would be the way that you're moving around the map. I think that could have been a cool idea. Or something like, castling is one of the cooler mechanics in chess that a lot of people don't even know about, but it's just like a basic thing that is cool. But like this game never had like castling as part of a puzzle, which I think is kind of a missed opportunity. But yeah, it was a fun time, a cool game. And yeah, just like a fun, interesting idea to take chess and like, what would chess look like as a platformer? And that's exactly what this game is. It's a short and sweet experience of what that could look like. So shout outs to Chessformer. That was the first one. And then the second one is what my name is alluding to today, The King of the Bridge. And this one I think came out earlier this year, actually. So check this one out as well, Kirklin. This one has a much nicer aesthetic. I really like the visuals of it. It's kind of got like 4 or 5 colors, like shades of green and black and white. But it looks really nice. I like the character art and the art for the pieces. It's like kind of cute. They're all kind of like stumpy and kind of cozy in a way. And this is a very simple game as well. Once again, I beat it within an hour, and then there's like different endings, so you can go back and do more. But the concept of this one is a bit more complex, where you are a little guy, you're running across this bridge, and eventually on this bridge, you come across the troll who, is operating this bridge. And you have to beat him in a game of chess if you want to get across the bridge. But you very quickly realize when you're playing against him that this is chess with different rules. So on the side of on the main, center of the screen, there's a chess board, and then on the side there's a rule book. And so in there, it's like, here's how a knight moves, here's how a bishop moves. You can't, you can't control the enemy pieces. It's like all of the little basic rules that you'd expect. But then there's different ones, or pieces move differently or act differently than you are used to in chess. And so, and whenever the big part of it is you're kind of playing a game against this guy, and he's constantly cheating, and you might be cheating as well, usually early on, because you don't know the rules of this weird chess game that this troll has created. So, for example, Kirkland, whenever I play chess, my first move all the time is to blast a pawn out there. I'm doing the double jump. I'm trying to get control of the
E4,
center of the
baby.
board.
E4 all day.
Exactly. E4, E5. Give me any one of those. I'm in there. So I immediately do that, but then he immediately accused me of cheating, because in this game, pawns cannot move 2 squares at any point. They can only move 1 space, but they can move in any direction. So that's the difference of them there.
Yeah.
So immediately I did that. He's like, you're fucking cheating. Instantly takes me out, and I got to start from scratch, beat him, start a new game. And so for a while, it's that. You're like doing things that seem like a regular move. Like, for example, I won't spoil too many, but like with my queen, I had the opportunity to take his king, so I went for it. But then no, in this guy's rule book, queens are not allowed to have affairs with the opposing king. So it was against the rules. So I lost because I cheated. And then so you're kind of have to pay attention to what he's doing too. And if he at any point makes an illegal move or does something he's not supposed to, you can accuse him of cheating. And if you're correct on the accusation, then you can cheat in return. And so the way that's not just an instant win, because if you could cheat, you could just pick up any piece and take out his king. It doesn't matter if that's an illegal move because you can cheat. But the way he kind of gets around that is anytime you kill the enemy king, it'll transfer to another piece that he has. So you have to take out every single one of his pieces in order to beat him, unless there might be some secret way you can beat him I haven't discovered yet. But that's kind of the general idea of it. And once again, pretty short and sweet to figure out. You'll figure out the moves or like the rules like fairly quickly, and then it doesn't take too long to kind of figure out like how to abuse it. And really, you can even just do like little passing non-moves and just wait for him to cheat, and whenever he cheats, then you can just like cheat back and do some really strong thing and take out some weak point in his position. So it wasn't that hard to crack the code the first time, but then after I did beat it, it seems like, yeah, there are all sorts of different endings, and I'm guessing you get a different ending if you beat the game without using any cheats, or beating the game without accusing him of any cheats. But to do those things would be a lot harder because, yeah, sometimes he'll just, with a random piece, move across the map and take out a rook of yours, completely cheating. Like, there's no way he can possibly do that move. But then if you don't accuse him, then it's like, well, damn, now he just got this piece for free and there's nothing I could do about it. So it's a very fun, goofy idea. The game is very silly. It made me laugh quite a few times, and I enjoyed it. Once again, I think there's room for more once I beat it, and then I was like, okay, I guess I can do other things, but like I've kind of discovered all the rules. I kind of lost steam on it. It's like I don't really feel the urge to go back in a big way. But at the end of the day, it was $2. It's like $5 at full price, so it's hard to complain too much. But I had a good time with this one as well. I like games making use of chess mechanics in like cool and unique creative ways. I think it's a fun thing to do as a fan of chess who doesn't always want to just play a stressful game against someone online,
Yeah, no, that's fun. That's funny that you brought that up because when I was jumping in again, just trying to like, I don't know, play chess online and just learn a little bit more about it, I was like, man, I wonder if there's any chess games out there on, when you're just thinking about those things. I want to watch Queen's Gambit. I've never seen that. Like, you just kind of get immersed in the realm of that. So it's funny that you went ahead and jumped on that. But interesting. Like I really like the troll one. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'd recommend that one. You should. I think it is on sale still during the sale.
$2 right now. Yeah, it's
recommend
definitely
picking that one up. It's worth the price for sure.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm excited to play you finally. Hopefully I don't get
stomped. We should do that soon. I would love
GV
to.
Day.
Yes,
we'll get aboard there.
GV Day. Yeah, that would be fun. Okay, those were my chess games, chess shout outs. And then I think I'll just shout out one more game here for the day. There's another one that I'm still kind of playing through, so maybe I'll save that for another week of Sidequest. But I wanted to shout this out with you because this is very relevant to you as well. Another game that's been on my wish list for a long time, finally got it here. It's called Circuit Superstars. I feel like I maybe have talked to you about this game before. I don't know, but look it up. This is a racing game from the perspective. It's a top-down view, so rather than kind of behind the car view that most games do. And this game is very much a like F1 themed or styled thing, which is why I think you would be into it. But yeah, it's a pretty basic racing game. It's on simple maps for the most part that I imagine are based on like famous F1 courses potentially. Some of the names, or like, I don't think they're official names for actual racers because then they have to pay licensing fees and whatnot, but seems like very much inspired by that sort of stuff, but I don't know anything about F1. But then there's also like off-road races as well in the dirt, and then there's all sorts of different cars you can use. So there are the kind of like classic F1 cars. There's like rally cars. There's like a truck you can use. There's like a big semi-truck. There's other kind of goofy ones in there as well. And so in these races, you'll be having, a mix of different vehicles in there. But it's a really fun game. It's really challenging, which I think is fun for me because I feel like I haven't played like a genuinely super hard racing game in a while. But I don't know. Usually these realistic racing games are the ones that kick my ass because I just more want to smash into other cars and create havoc, or like, if I'm playing kart racer, of course, that's a whole different type of thing. But yeah, this is really fun. I played a lot of it in co-op with Clinton. So that was a good time playing through with him. And one thing that I thought was really interesting about it was just some of the other mechanics in here. Like there's pit stop lanes built into the maps. And in some of the maps, you will have to do that because your tires are degrading as you're going through. You have a fuel amount that you have to keep track of. And then you also have HP. So obviously, if you're smashing into walls or people too much, you gotta go heal up, get repaired. But then also, yeah, keeping an eye on your fuel, keeping an eye on your tires. And it's funny because as you're going through, very slow progression as your tires are getting weaker and you're losing traction. Once you go through a pit stop and then get out onto the course, you can immediately feel like, man, my tires were so degraded. Now I have so much more control, or like because I have the fuel, I'm moving so much. How does it work? Would you move faster with more fuel because you have more power, or would you move faster because you have less fuel that is weighing you down?
You're faster with less fuel because you have less weight with you. Yeah. As
Gotcha.
an avid F1 enjoyer,
Right.
I know these things.
Yeah, so this game I feel like does a pretty good job of making those sim elements, but it's funny having those alongside a game that looks pretty cartoony and cute and has that top-down view, because normally I'm used to it just being the more like behind like the Forza Motorsport ones, for example, or like Gran Turismo, like those sort of games I picture as the more hardcore ones where it's like you're following the line and getting really precise with your timings, compared to like Dirt, which is more off-road and smashing into people. But yeah, it's cool to have that from like this perspective, because the only other racing games I've played from this top-down view are ones that are very arcadey and are like kart racers where you're having items and whatnot. So that completely changes the vibe of it. But yeah, it's really cool. I think if I have any criticisms of it, one would be just the course variety. We played for a couple hours, and I think in that time we played every single course in the game. And I know it is a more realistic game, but I think I want a little bit more in there of like maybe a couple more ramps or some different like elevation that you have to kind of keep track of how fast you're going, so you're not just flying off and losing control. There's a couple maps that do that, but not a ton. And then there's all sorts of different cars in the game. But as far as I can tell, there's nowhere where it like shows you the actual stats of them. So you're more taking a guess of like what this car's stats are going to be. But it would be nice to see a little bit more of those details. And yeah, it's like it might be a bit too hard. Like there is an easier difficulty that we didn't go on. So it is nice to have, I guess, that variety in there, and you can change the settings around. But yeah, it's a cool game. It's really cute. I like the visuals. I like the kind of brightness of it. And yeah, once again, this one's been on my radar for a couple of years now. So I'm glad I finally picked it up. Do you think that a game like this would intrigue you? I know you like F1 stuff, but like this perspective, do you think this would be fun for you?
I possibly. I feel like the co-op element could be fun.
You were playing like F1 Manager recently, right?
Yeah. That's a really fun one for if you're actually an F1 fan. Not to sound like that guy, but I feel like it's also just fun, like knowing the drivers and like knowing like just the teams, the managers and stuff like that, and like getting fully immersed in that sense. I don't know. I wishlisted it, so I'll keep my eyes on it. But I feel like every time I've played top down like racers, I just haven't been too thrilled by them. But I like that there's more to it than
They're
just the
definitely
pure
less
driving.
immersive. That would be a big thing
for sure.
I'd point out. Yeah.
Maybe the difficulty is what scares me. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. I feel like you would be good at it because you know, like it seems like a pretty realistic sim in that way, and I feel like you understand those mechanics or whatnot. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out sometime. We'll see.
Yeah, there you go. So that was Circuit Superstars. Let's take our last break, and then we will talk about some Marvel Snap. We will be right back. Okay, we are back. So yeah, we're gonna break down this this new season of July is the Deadpool Wolverine month of Marvel Snap, which is great. I love when they can pair the theming along with a thing release, and of course that movie's coming out. Have you been playing Marvel Snap as well? Is that kind of still in your rotation?
It's been kind of toned down. I feel like I haven't been going too hard this current battle pass. I've kind of just been, I don't know, I guess waiting for the next one. I last time I logged on, I saw that there, some of the cards that I was using kind of changed. I was like, like I don't know if that changes the whole meta of what my my deck could do. But I mean, watching the trailer for this coming up season definitely sparked my interest. Obviously, I'm excited for Deadpool Wolverine, but just what they're going to be adding is like, I've never bought in a battle pass before, but I liked everything that I saw. So I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I like the art of the cards, which is always a big one for the battle pass stuff. And then, for the first, because I haven't got a battle pass in a few months, and that's mostly just because the season pass card isn't one that I need day one. But Gwenpool is the new card of the month here. Her ability is on reveal, pick a random card in your hand 3 times and give it +2 power each time, which I think is really fun. I feel like there's a lot of potential with that, whether that's something like, hitting the Black Panther would be huge. Obviously, hitting Deadpool is an obvious kind of connection there, but that would even work well with like a Galactus deck, really well with Sebastian Shaw or Brood or Mr. Sinister. Like there's a lot of cards right off the bat that I can see how that would be super strong with. And I really like a lot of those types of decks. So I can just see instantly like 3 or 4 of my decks that I already have built. I would easily sub out some card to put Gwen in there and Gwenpool, I guess, to be specific, and just immediately level them up. So that's a really cool effect, and I like the card art. So I might pick this one up. And yeah, it's been I think 3 or 4 months since I picked one of these up. And yeah, I've been playing a lot. The most recent card that came out is Erishim. Have you seen Erishim yet or played a game?
I have not seen it. No.
Yeah, so he gives you. I forget if we talked about him, but he's a 7-cost card, the first 7-cost card in the game.
We did talk about this.
Yeah,
yes.
He gives you +1 max energy, and then shuffles 12 random cards into your deck. So he's just a full-on chaos card, but he gives you more, essentially 6 more energy per game. So it's really strong potentially to be able to play anything like a turn sooner is pretty crazy. So that's been super fun. I just love chaos and randomness and those sort of types of decks in games like this. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I'm thinking about picking up Gwenpool here. Do you like that ability? Would that fit well into any of your current decks or strategies?
I definitely think it would fit somewhere. I feel like it was just maybe more so than the previous months. It's just a character that just seems interesting. And it's like, yeah, I could check that one out. There's nothing that really shouts out like immediately of like this will pair very well with this specific card for me. But it's mostly just I feel like when I evaluate like a battle pass, it's not just the one card. It's like kind of what the whole package has, and this one
definitely
is more appealing than what previous ones have been for me.
Nice. Yeah, because you've still not picked up a Season's Pass, right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I came close. I think it was around the Werewolf by Night one.
Okay, wow.
Think I can't remember which one it was.
That was like the Halloween month last year.
It was basically just one that I had played a lot, and like I had finished like all the stages of the battle pass, and I'm like, wow, this could be an easy cash in right here, because you always want to make it worth it, right? Like actually get all the rewards if you are getting that month's battle pass. And I came close then. I feel like also I was like grinding for a specific thing. I'm like, well, I could get it if I just get the battle pass. I'll have all these like tokens or whatever the unlockable things that I needed were. Perhaps it was boosters. I can't remember, but yeah, I don't know. This one, I feel like the hype of the movie also helps a lot. So
yes,
it's great that they pair it up with that for just marketing wise.
Yeah, and then another new card is Copycat. When you draw this, steal the text from the bottom card of your opponent's deck. She's a 3/5. I forgot to say Gwenpool is a 4/6. I think Copycat's a really cool idea and potentially really strong. I mean, potentially you get a pretty weak effect and don't get anything from it. But to me, like information is such a huge thing in Snap, and there's not a lot of cards that give you information. Like Yondu is one. He destroys an enemy card in their hand. You get to see what it is. Cable's really good because even if you don't want to use the card, you just get to see what a card in their deck is. Daredevil, seeing what your opponent's going to play on turn 5, and then even Howard, who helps you see what you're going to draw next. Like those are really powerful cards. I like because having those kind of things really can tell you whether or not you should be snapping, and that's such a big part of the game, right? To have that kind of information. And 3/5 is a very solid stat line as well. And this is a card too. Like she does that effect, steals the ability, and that's just drawn into your hand. So you don't even need to play her to get that information. So if you get a bad ability, you just don't even play her, right? You just keep her in your hand if it's going to screw you over. But then if you do get something like in the video they showed Dr. Doom, which is like, oh, hell yeah, that's great. I get 10 bonus power along when I play with her. Like it's super strong. So that's, I don't know what week. I haven't looked at all the spotlight caches that are going to be happening this month, but I think I'm definitely going to either drop tokens on her or save up some. I think I already have like 7 keys, so I'm looking pretty good on the key game right now. But yeah, that's definitely a card I'm going to go for. That's just such a strong ability and super fun. And it's like also, disruptive to your opponent. So that's always a nice thing too.
Yeah, no, I feel like just seeing her highlighted it, because they do like a little montage of just showing her taking
Yeah.
certain just text abilities from other cards. It's just like this could be so hit or miss, it seems, and but I don't know. It's a fun inclusion, and yeah, I feel like it would just be a great addition to almost any deck, unless it's like super specific.
Yeah,
for,
it is a
for
pretty
something.
versatile card in that way.
Mm.
Like you could, it's not really one you'd build a deck around. It's more just,
Yeah.
hey, I have room for a 3 cost in this. Maybe I'll pick her up and put her.
Which would fit for me because I feel like most of my cards it's just kind of piecing together. Like I feel like
Yeah.
none of my decks are like what the meta option would be for like that play style, whether it's
I guess yeah, it would just
I
look
don't know,
like your
destroy
collection
or
level
something.
naturally.
Yeah.
You're maybe not going to have the complete sets at this point. So that
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly. I will say too, I don't know if he's still going hard, but last time I was talking to, Patreon Tyler about Marvel Snap, he said like he was
he's playing,
early,
okay.
like he had just jumped in.
Nice.
And it's a long journey. Like I feel like I've been on it for a long time and I feel like obviously I don't have all of the older cards yet, but no, it's always fun to see someone kind of going on that adventure and then mentioning like what their deck is. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that deck. I remember unlocking that specific character because I think early on they unlock in
It's
a certain
guaranteed,
order.
yeah, for quite a while there. Yeah. Next up is Hydra Bob, who I've not heard of this character before. He is a 1/4, which is cool stats. After each turn, this moves if a player snapped. So I remember them teasing a few months ago that they were going to introduce a character whose mechanic was based around snapping. So in that way, he's the first of his kind. What do you think of that ability?
I like it just because of like the originality of it. It's a new way to interact with a mechanic that everyone interacts with. It's funny, Hydra Bob. I only know who that is because we went through our Deadpool retro leading up to this movie, and Travis informed us that like he is in the Deadpool movie, but it's like almost like an Easter egg for if someone knows
in the first
about.
one.
I watched them back to back. I can't even
Okay.
remember. I think it's the second one actually.
Would he have been like during the recruiting of X-Force or something?
No, he's like fighting these bad guys, and then he just
okay.
goes like, "Oh, hi, Bob," because in the comics he has like a buddy who is on Hydra named Hydra Bob, and he's just like a reoccurring character who's like a villain.
So he doesn't look like he doesn't snap, for example.
No, like, and like I don't know if the snap one is the more comic book accurate one, but he's just wearing like a classic henchman type garb, and then Deadpool's just beating up guys. He's just like, "Oh, hi, Bob," and then he knocks him out.
Cool.
But yeah,
Interesting.
it's funny that they're adding him in there.
Yeah, but what do you think of that mechanic, the snap-based activation?
I thought I mentioned it. I like it because it's like a new way to interact with just the game in general, and I don't know. It's not just taking like a same mechanic that we already have on certain cards and just adding a number to, right?
Yeah.
Like it's actually affecting a player decision on doing something like snap, because you can always snap, but it wouldn't really like affect your cards more so than just the rewards after the game. So it's a fun thing to add.
I think it's guaranteed at some point they'll add a card that is like Black Panther or something. When you snap, it like doubles his power. I feel like they'll definitely do that at some point, and that'll probably be a more costly card because that's a cool ability. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about when they talked about that being a mechanic that there would be an activation from your opponent too, because that's an interesting angle to this as well, where maybe your opponent sees that, oh man, if I give him an extra move right now, maybe that will help, fulfill some combo or boost Craven or something. So they're just not going to snap, perhaps, even if they think they're going to win the game. Like, I wonder how that will actually play into strategy or
psychological
how much people
warfare.
will think about it. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but they recently I think it was part of Summer Game Fest to some extent, where they kind of talked about a lot about the Deadpool season kind of early, and they also talked about that they're going to be adding a new. So instead of like on reveal and ongoing, they're going to add a new keyword like that called activate, which is when you have the card on the board, you can like tap it and then it will, do whatever the ability is. So I think one of them was Madame Web, and you tap Madame Web and then she moves a card away from that location. So this is almost similar to that, but rather than it being an activate ability, you're activating it, but you're activating it by hitting the snap button rather than clicking the card itself. So I'm curious what those two cards will look like in conjunction with each other. I feel like that could be a potentially strong interaction or a weird one nonetheless. But I mean, he has like a way higher stat line for a 1 cost than his average. I mean, you have Ebony Maws in there, you have Martyr in there now, and Zero is a 1/3. It's not hard for Rocket to hit 1/5 or Hawkeye to hit 1/5. Ant-Man, like a lot of them do get higher stats now, but he is still above the curve. So I don't know. Even if you're not using his ability and you just want a strong 1 cost card, he could be in there as well. So I'm not going to go to my way to get this card, but I honestly might just because of the unique mechanic. I think it could be fun to try and mess around with, especially with another mode we'll talk about coming up a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Next up is 3/1 Cassandra Nova, so the villain of the new movie, which is cool. On reveal, steal 1 power from each card in your opponent's deck. Stealing it, giving it to herself so she can get pretty high stats. And this is a funny one, that the timing of this announcement being the week after Ereshkigal, because holy shit, this card is going to be super strong against Ereshkigal decks because it's going to get 20 power potentially, given that every card has that 1 power. I guess even if you don't have 1 power, you can still steal from a 0 power and then just hit them in a negative. So I don't know. That's going to be a funny counter, and I'm glad it's coming out, a little bit later than when I've been playing a lot of this new card. But this is a cool card, and this one also is integrated into a mode that is going to be coming out that we'll talk a little bit about. So in theory, should be one that everyone can get if they play a little bit without having to, pay to win or not needing the keys or the tokens for it. So potentially going to be a card that a lot of people will have. I don't know how much grinding you'll have to do to actually get the card. But I think it's cool. I love when they, in the High Evolutionary came out during that Guardians month when that new movie was coming out. So it's just cool when they have that kind of pairing. And yeah, that's a really, really strong ability. Potentially, I guess it also could be pretty weak depending. If you play it late in the game, maybe not that good at all. So
Right.
I don't know. Interesting card. I like it.
What was the cost on that one?
3/1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could definitely
Could be
see
good
it.
with Mr. Negative, I guess. Make it a 1 cost card if you get the
Right.
flip on it, and then higher power, and then even more. So could be a good way for it to be there.
I'm still seeking a nice Mr. Negative deck for me. I've tried a couple iterations. It's just, I don't know.
It's one that
I don't
you
have
just
Null,
to
right? Like I still want Null, and I feel like Null would fit really well with
super
that one.
helpful.
'Cause,
Null and Zola. Do you have Zola at this
don't
time?
have Zola either. Yeah, Couple
Zola.
key pieces
You have
I'm
Iron
missing.
Man. Iron Man's good in there, but yeah, you definitely need one of those too. And that's just a deck that it's fun when it works out, but it's one that you have to accept. Hey, I gotta retreat a lot because if I don't draw Mr. Negative, then this deck does nothing. It's really weak. So
Yeah,
you just gotta be accepting, losing those 1 cubes, but hopefully getting an 8 cuber when it pans out, right? Next up is Ajax, who is a 5/5, and he has an ongoing that is a 1 power, gets 1+ power for each card in play, afflicted with negative power. So I really like this. I think this is a fun idea because so far, to my off the top of my head knowledge, there's not there's a lot of cards in the game that do inflict negative power in the game, but really the only one on your side that you would use to counteract that is Luke Cage, where if you had negative power, you put Luke Cage out, regenerates all that power. But there isn't one that gives you power based off of afflicting negative power. So I think that's pretty cool. I think it's interesting. It's a new mechanic in a way, and could pair well with a High Evolutionary deck, could pair well with a Toxic Wong sort of thing as well. So I think it's really cool. I'm going to try and pick this one up as well. There's a lot I want this month, actually. I definitely want Copycat, Ajax, and I kind of want Hydra Bob just for the laughs. And Cassandra will be an easier card to just kind of everyone to get. So I don't know, going to be a hard month for me, but I think that's a really cool ability. And I'm guessing for you, you might not have a lot of cards that could really make use of that at this time.
Yeah, not really. I haven't really used anyone that's done that in a while. I guess Scorpion, right? He inflicts negative, and
That's a good one. Yeah.
that's kind of the full extent of that.
Do you have Toxic?
No,
You
I
get
don't have
yeah,
Toxic.
okay.
Yeah, because the only time I really, on my previous deck at least, I was using Electro a lot, but that just takes one out. That's not a negative effect. But yeah, it's a cool card at least. I thought the design looked really cool. Interesting character.
Definitely. So those are the new cards coming out, and then there's a couple locations. I don't know if we need to break those down, but one of the new modes is Deadpool's Diner, and they said that it's coming out now. It's going to be available for 2 weeks, I think. And then they said they're going to bring it back later on as well, just in, I don't know, when it makes sense, I guess, in the season, when they want it to. And so this is I don't fully understand it. Like I didn't understand it when they explained it via text a few weeks ago, and I still don't understand it totally seeing the video of it. But essentially it's a new mode, so like conquest or like regular ladder, like it's just a new place you're gonna go in and queue in. And there's a new currency for it called bubs. And so you're gonna be building up bubs based on winning matches. And then the more bubs you have, the more you can like enter higher stakes battles essentially, which just give you more bubs if you win them, I guess. And so it's just that sort of thing. And then you essentially have like a different collection track just for this system. So as you're leveling up that bub count or that overall or like the highest bub count or whatever it is called, it feels weird to say bub.
I love
counter,
it. I love the name of it.
Yeah, S bub counter. Yeah, as you're building up, you're getting different rewards, and that's where Cassandra Nova is, as I mentioned, as well as a bunch of other things. So I mean, cool. It's a new way to play. I mean, it's the same way to play, but it's just a slightly different variation on it. And then just a bunch of new unlocks. So I'm into that. I mean, I think it'll be tricky in this month to like make sure you're doing all your conquest stuff to try to get those upgrades or all those unlocks, doing this stuff to get the Deadpool diner stuff. And then just, I guess you'll get the regular collection track from whatever you do. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. Because yeah, they haven't done one of those events in a while. Like they did that Valentine's Day one that was really fun, where they just made certain cards have special ability pairings, and they haven't done it in a bit. So it's fun to have something new and fresh in the game. I don't know if it's like really changing the game a whole lot, but I'll definitely check it out, and I'll probably play it enough to at least get the new card, Cassandra. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. I'll check it out. I don't know if I'll stay on it. Like Conquest, I've never really dabbled in too much. Like I've done a couple matches here and there, but I pretty much just stick to the huge for me. But the rewards would be nice.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? I think you and me and everyone like Snap because it is such a bite-sized game. We can play it when you're on the toilet, or if you're just waiting for your chicken to cook and you're in the kitchen. You know, it's like a good game, just like in between. And so when you're playing something like Conquest, and it's like could take upwards of 20 minutes if it's going to be a full-length game.
Yeah,
it's not always what we're looking for. And if I have that amount of time to play a game, usually I want to play something, go play Elden Ring or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then so there's a lot coming out this month. Two other things. They're finally adding these alliances feature, which is where you can make like finally have like a bit of a friends group. You can make groups, clans with people, and then you'll get rewards and boost each other up in some way. Not sure what that'll look like, but it's cool. Glad they're finally adding it. And then they're also adding another mechanic of leagues, where leagues is where you get put into a league with 30 other random players, or I guess 29 for a total of 30. And you're competing against them. I don't think you're necessarily actually playing against those people, but you are, based on your ranking, how many games you're winning, you're going up in the ranking of the league. And then when the league is over, whoever has like the highest ranking gets like certain rewards and stuff. So they had done a trial of this a few months ago in like Europe. And a big criticism of it from people was that it was like, oh, this is very pay to win. Like, if you're putting your bucks in, you're going to get first place. If not, you're not going to get anything. And so it seems like they've taken that feedback and maybe split leagues into like paid leagues versus just free to play ones. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know. They're really putting a lot out in this month. I guess it was all finished development, ready to go. And so they're just going for it, making this a big month with the new Marvel movie coming out, perhaps. So yeah, a lot to look forward to in this month. Any interest in leagues or alliances?
Not really. Maybe alliances. Maybe I'll add.
What do you want? What would you want them to add? What would be like an actually exciting thing for you in terms of like features, considering that these things aren't really doing much for you?
I mean, I feel like the thing that gets me the most excited when I play that game is just like getting new cards. Yeah. So I love my monthly 3 series that I get. Maybe give me 2. Maybe every half
that to 2. I think it's about time. Now that there's a lot more cards in that series. They've talked about they want to make that experience better, but they talk about a lot of stuff and then take months to do anything about it. But I think that's an easy one. Yeah, give you guys 2 a month.
Yeah, so like
and I'm
it's
not
pretty
be
much
salty about that. As someone who's done all that now, yeah. I'm happy for more people to have more cards. I think that is a perfectly acceptable thing.
I feel like it's fun to collect them. It's fun to get cards that you're interested in. But it's also just it gets me hooked on the game again. Like if I get a card that I've been waiting for and like really been excited to like try a deck around that specific card, or I've been wanting to do a certain deck but I've been missing a very specific card, and then I finally get that, then I'm just like hooked again. I feel like there's also certain cards that aren't really new. Like maybe they're a series, and I can only really get them if it is through the. I guess you get them on your journey through the collection
You
ladder,
can buy them with
anyways.
tokens
But
too, right? But it's like that's not really worth spending tokens. Like they're only
yeah,
1,000 tokens, but you're not really. It's not really a wise investment.
it might be cool if you could like choose a certain character that you're like really after, especially if it's like a,
Right.
a series
You always gotta
3.
wait for those rotations.
Yeah, like Spider Gwen, for example. Like that's another card that's just always eluded me. A couple other Spider, like I still don't have Venom. I feel like that's just a
crazy.
tragedy. Yeah, no. So lots of cards that I just want to get, but I just feel like they're ever fleeting for me.
Yeah.
One day,
Fair enough.
I'll keep logging in. I'll keep checking in every month
Mhm.
for my Series 3, and hopefully they'll be there.
Yeah. Oh, have you? I guess the new season hasn't started yet, but
I think
tomorrow
it starts like tomorrow.
starts
yeah.
tomorrow. So yeah, what are you gunning for one in particular? Or are you just gonna kind of look at that rotation? Is it
For
is it gonna
Series
be Venom?
3, because I feel like there's still a good amount of the Series 3 that I don't have yet. I pretty much just wait until one is cool enough to get, or like one that I have been looking for. But I try not to be too picky, because there has been some times when it's like, that's a cool card, but maybe the next one will be even more interesting, and then it's just like worse. It's like, I should have just got that first one. So now it's just like kind of the first one that I see that I really like. Like I can't even really remember what my last one was now.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember.
But yeah, it says 14 hours till my next card, so looking forward to
Okay.
that.
Nice.
I think my last one actually would have been Ultron, which was a fantastic pickup, because that was
And
that was
yeah,
one
because I
deck
remember we
that I
talked
went
about that 'cause
really
he just
hard
got
on.
buffed, so that was good timing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was perfect timing, and I really like that deck. I was spamming that deck for a long time. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Ultron, when he got buffed, he was super popular again. For I feel like 3 days, I was seeing like every game was an Ultron deck, and then I feel like I haven't seen him since. So he's kind of like submerged under again. But like it's not like he got nerfed again. He's still really good, but he's just underrated. Or there's a new card every single week, so of course that's always what people are going to flock to when they get the new card. So it makes sense. Cool. Any other snap thoughts, or is that all for the day? Was there anything
I'm
that I
all
skipped over
snapped
in the
out.
video that looked compelling to you? I think we kind of mentioned it all.
I didn't love the whole pool segment. I was kind of
Oh,
annoyed
dude,
by
I
that.
I fast forward through their like skits at this point. I'm not into it. Ben Bro, it seems like a nice guy, but man, his energy is like too much for me these days.
And like the Deadpool mariachi band that they had. Like I had
After
this on the
every card,
iPad
it's
while
like,
I was just going
wow.
on Elden Ring, and just a couple
Yeah.
times I just looked over and just
Yeah,
like, this is too much,
I'm
man.
smashing that forward key. Yeah, getting.
Yeah, it's
looking-
no Modest House in Morrowind, that's for sure. That's a true video.
Oh, you're so nice. I was gonna ask you this earlier in your games been playing section. Have you still been playing Fallout? You still working through Fallout 4 there, or is that taking a little back seat? I know you've
That
been
has
playing a lot
taken
of
a back
stuff, so I'm
seat.
not gonna blame you too much. But
That has taken a back seat. I feel like I haven't touched it since I updated you.
Okay.
So you are completely updated on that journey. It's still
Gotcha.
downloaded, so that's a good sign.
That is a good sign.
Hasn't walked the plank yet.
Okay, well, I think for today that's gonna do it. We're gonna walk the plank on out of here. Thank you everyone for listening. I think next week's SideQuest is gonna be 1 day late, just because of recording schedule stuff. So look for it Wednesday morning instead of Tuesday morning. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you then. Bye bye.
Adios.